Welcome back into this hall for the next session we have with Ms. Lakshmi Subramaniam, Durga Lakshmi Subramaniam. She is unable to be here because again, so she's on Zoom from India. Lakshmi will be talking to us about hand gestures. She has also been trained in the classical dance forms of Bharatanatyam and Odissi, and her subjects of study include study of choreographic processes and Indian paintings called the Ragamala paintings and the depiction of metaphors in dance and Rabindra Nritya. And she's going to talk to us today about what she has been noticing has been kind of a development and evolution in terms of using Laban notation in the Indian traditions. Welcome. I hope you are able to hear us, and I think we'll hear you too. I think you have to unmute yourself. Have you unmuted yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, Rajeshri ji, for the introduction. It's lovely to meet all of you right there. I'm sorry I'm unable to be with all of you. I had gone through the abstracts, fabulous papers. It's wonderful to be presenting here today. My topic for today, as Rajeshri ji said, was it's notation of Indian hand gestures. I'll just be sharing my screen, and please let me know if you can see the same. Can you see the same? Yeah. So my topic is notation of Indian hand gestures, and just starting off with a small invocation, as I usually do. Indian dance is deeply rooted with its spiritual ethos, and so I hope you don't mind. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. With regard to dance notation as such, how was I, an Indian classical dancer, introduced to this topic was, I began my classical dance training like everybody else in South India in the classical dance style of Bharatanatyam. And probably during my ages of 13 and 14, I was introduced to a new dance teacher called as she's known as Mrs. Vasanta Vaikunth in Muscat. And she had this culture of asking her students to annotate all the dance steps as well as the choreographies in simple figure drawings. Soon dance notation became like this kind of format of dance notation became as a tool in which we recorded our steps as well as choreographies. Moving on towards my high school, I came across the dance style of Odissi, classical dance style of Odissi. And what defines Odissi from Bharatanatyam or any other Indian dance is that it has the movement of the torso. There is a very thorough understanding of the spine, which was granted to me during my training by sculptor and my teacher, Guru Deepak Roy, from the Shantiniketan School of Dance. So it is this training that I was able to use to a greater extent when I was looking at Laban system of notation, etc., just broadly speaking. Within Odissi, the Odissi repertoire has given us a very beautiful choreography called as the Ashtapadi. And this Ashtapadi, it's not like in Odissi, only we perform this literature called as Ashtapadi. Other classical dance forms of India also do it. But when it was revived, Mahaguru Guru Kelacharan Mohapatra, when his compositions had a very unique element on the way the hand gestures flow from one to the other. So it is. So I really wanted to sort of preserve this for the sake of posterity. And when I was self-learning these Ashtapatis myself, I came across this book that you see on the left-hand side, Geeta Govindam with Abhinaya, written by Professor Salva Krishnamurthy. But however, this book had only the names of the hastas, and it was most likely to, I believe, it is most to be used for a different dance style, but not really useful. It was not particularly useful in my study to preserve it, but it was a great starting point at least. So moving on, this to the right of it is the Mahaguru, Guru Kelchan Mahapatra, and the lower bottom middle is my teacher Guru Deepak Roy. Leftmost is Sri Madhvi Mudgalji, who through whom I learnt these Ashtapati choreographies. Next to that is her niece Arushi Mudgalji. So going forward, so the introduction of the Laban system of notation to Indian dancers is not complete without mentioning Kapilaji. So when I think of Kapilaji and her works and her contribution, I just want to show this very few small second video, a very small snippet of it, and I can tell you what how that led one to the other. So I'm just going to play this video very quickly.
Keep the weight distribution along that vertical axis. Okay? Got it? There is a relationship to the earth and gravity. However, what have we done here? We have not disturbed the equal weight.
So I'm just pausing it over here because the audio would not be that clear. So going back to my presentation, what you saw, that small snippet, I couldn't play the entire thing, was in that particular snippet, what to the right of it was Parulsha, dancer Parulsha, and to the left was Kapilaji. What they were trying to portray is my audibility there, ma'am?
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was interrupted. Is my audibility there?
Yeah, we can hear you now. But your,
Yeah.
video.
Well, yeah. So for those who actually saw the video, in that video, what Kapilaji was essentially trying to explain was Indian dance, unlike Western, is deeply deeply rooted to gravity, whereas in Western system of ballet, the style is such that it's against gravity, where it's the way it is designed. So using Laban, the system of Laban's principles, and using that optics to look at Indian dance had brought a lot of new dimensions in which we look at our classical dances. So I just want to quote a few lines from Kapilaji's biography. It is with Joanna, that is Rudolf Laban's daughter, and through her that she approached dance was not a mere physical initiation, practicing the pieces of times, which was all wonderful, but it was also a question of analyzing But it was also a question of analyzing every bit of your body and also knowing where the movement was taking you, what shapes you were making, how you were negotiating the flow space and energy around your body for every choreography, and what one would call the very basis of movement. Moving on. So this tacit background was to give her instinctive understanding of the idea of time and space, of geometry, of motion, of stillness, weight, deportment, effort, jumps, concentration, expansion and release from the floor. A completely different approach to the body than all the training that her Indian dance forms actually gave her. What are the notions of creating the movement close to the center and away from the center? What was energy? What was elevation? What was gravity? These were lifelong lessons that were learned through this association. So in my paper, looking only at hand gestures, looking only at hand gestures were particularly there was uses for Indian ritualistic practice as well as those used for communication were completely different. However, the term mudra is mostly used in the ritualistic context as opposed to hastas, which were in more communication and expression. However, over a period of time, this mudras and hastas became almost synonymous with each other. Moving on, this snippet that I show you was taken from the Dance Research Association from Anne's book on the gestures. Now you see these 4 lines to depict the fingers. Now this model was not particularly enough in incorporating the diversity that Indian hand gestures actually had. So G. Venu. Now comes G. Venu's work. In the center is Professor G. Venu. His work, he had brought out something wherein a sort of a symbol and an alphabet for each particular gestures. He started off as a Kathakali dancer, and his book was the notation of Kathakali gestures. And this on my slide, on the left that you see was the first layout that he actually came for the 24 gestures from the text of Hastalakshana Deepika. With this model in hand, I took around 80% of it from here, and I took the same thing and I applied it to the Natya Shastra Mudras. Now it is, if you ask me, it's 80% is the same, but I have made some small changes so that I felt that this model was great, but there were some things where I felt was maybe a little to suit understandability. So going forward, of course his notation system was featured under in the book of 400 Years of Dance Notation, organized by the Grolier Club of New York in the Harvard College Library. It was the only paper that actually came from the Asia, and you see that right here, Venuji's paper, right, the second last one. So these were the principles that I had employed, and is that, and yes, anything? So here that you can see, that's the way it is vertically portrayed, and this is horizontally, and there are certain mudras, like as in this is the Pataka Hasta, and here the thumb is outside, and if it is outside, it's the out position is like this, the in position, the position where it touches is right on position, and where it is in, it's like this. Now where you hold a gesture that is like this is called as the Mukula Hasta, where all the fingers are converging at a point. Here you see that it forms a triangle and it converges. So that's depicted below. Closed fists like this, I have shown it over here. Likewise, there are other few hastas called as Mriga Shiricha. Now Mriga Shiricha is like this, and a similar hasta where you bend it, you close it, converge it to the thumb is called as Simha Mukha. Kapita is something like this, and Chatura is actually you close it inside. And those were some hastas which are actually similar but quite different. So I had written that. This model is, as I said, adapted from Venuji's work, but with a certain amount of changes is my contribution to this paper. Yeah. Now, one thing that I had done was, in that Kapilaji's video, there was a question that was posed from the audience's end. The presenter that day had done a 12-second programming of a composition, of a larger composition of Varnam. She had programmed it actually, and she had studied. She had used it to study elements of choreography. So the question that was posed by the audience was, can Laban system of notation, which is used to analyze choreographies, and Laban's system of notation to study the body, elements of it, can it converge at a certain point? So at that point in time, maybe 20 or 30 years back, there was no particular clear-cut answer. But today, when at the touch of a button we are able to study symphonies in the keyboard or violin, we've gone so much forward in technical wise. Why not use these elements to study, to use it to extend it to study dance maybe by a touch of a button. This could be used for. So we are closer to it. We're getting closer to it, but hopefully. My other contribution was illustrative applications to the choreography called as the Ashtapadi. I'll just be doing a small line. How much time do I have? Around 5 to 10 minutes do I have? Yeah, okay. So I'll very quickly do this. The line is actually the hero is telling his beloved. In this, the hero is the divine god of Krishna. He's telling Radha, Priye priye charushile munchamayi manam anidhanam. So he's saying, Priye Charushiles, O beloved one, please set aside your unfounded anger on me. That's the meaning of the line. And how we are showing it is Priye, that is Chatura Hasta on the right hand, and the left hand is in Pataka. It's just resting down. So Priye. This is called a hasta called as Hamsasya. It transitions from Hamsasya to a hasta called as Alapadma. Charushile. Going forward, Munchamayi. It's Munchamayi Manam Anidhanam. It ends like this. So this is just one line, and wherein I have shown what the right hand is saying and what the left hand is doing. Now, the Odyssey actually uses more or less the Natya Shastra, and there are a few other texts. So the naming is, more or less it is the same. So this model can be just used and just applied to take it forward. So going forward, my conclusions, I'd like to conclude. American-born violinist Yehudi Menuhin once remarked that the Indian listener is a person who can appreciate 20 different shades of blue and 20 different shades of red. As with the case of Indian music, Indian dance patterns have a separate identity from Western ones. The diverse Indian forms and the different parts of the face, the footwork, but also stylized movements of parts and organs from head to foot. To record all these, a special notation system was needed. Venuji undertook extensive research to develop a notation system for documenting the variations of gestures and mudras and hastas of Kathakali, the form which he initially trained in. In addition to the inherent complexity of Indian dance, a codified and easy approach which was developed by Venuji has led to this experimentation of the mudras of Natya Shastra. Notation has not always been seriously undertaken by Indian dancers, thereby sticking to the convention of oral transmission along with preserving the teacher-student dynamic and bond. However, post-pandemic, the narrative and landscape has significantly changed. In this context, a question may arise whether it is possible to preserve abhinaya or gestural communication and thereby teach the same over hybrid and online sessions. In this vein, the illustrative application of the annotation of gestures of Jayadeva is just a drop in the ocean yet to be experimented for dancers to develop and use, and also enable the preservation of choreographies for the sake of posterity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, ma'am.
You kept up your time with the lecture, so we have some time for taking questions or discussion.
Oh, yes, any questions?
And so I think we should do that. Since it is, of course, a subject that not we are talking about every day. Anybody who has any questions, please raise your hand, and then I think we have 5 minutes to take 1 or 2 questions depending on how long the answers are. Yes, I'm here.
Who is the lady?
Yeah.
Well, I had a question when I saw your notation. I was wondering, because you had the right side on the left and the left side on the right, if you are looking at it from the audience point of view or the dancer's point of view, because Laban, of course, always looks at it from the dancer's point of view.
That's right.
And I kind of felt like maybe you're looking at it from the audience's point of view. I don't know. That was the question.
I'll answer that, G. I'll tell you how I did this, because when I have written it down, it is from the dancer's point of view. That's how I have done it. It's not from the, because a dancer will only be initially using it, so it's done from the dancer's point of view. Actually, I'll give you a very nice thing how I did that was when I was self-learning these choreographies by looking at the videos. Much before I attended a workshop with Madhavi ji, I used an extension on Google Chrome called as Mirror Tube, wherein you can mirror the video as it is and you can note it down actually. So that was an extremely helpful tool while using it to study and all that. So yeah, I did that. It's called as Mirror Tube. It's available as a Chrome extension.
Okay, so there is a bit of digitalization that has helped to do the notation, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it was just when I saw on your paper that you had just shown, it was the other way around. So I was just wondering. But it, yes. So
Oh
you did it
yes,
from the
yes, you're right. Yes, you are right. That's right. That's totally right. But I think probably a reader will have to use it. As you said, you have pointed it out correctly. Probably a reader will have to use it and see if it's all right, or else I'll have to swap it, as you said. Right, ma'am?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajeshri ji. Any more questions? Please feel free to ask.
If there is anybody who would like to even say something, it doesn't have to be a question. Thomas, we have a Laban notator expert sitting here. Thomas is into the deep, detailed, differentiated Laban notation, so probably you have a question or
Namaste.
Say that would help her also further.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
That's was very interesting to listen to notation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hope as a community we could take forward dance learning to another new level. So that would be nice. Thank you so much, Rajeshri ji, to Benjamin sir, and the rest of the team who are working for the last few months to put a presenter like me from my own place at ease. Thank you. Thanks a ton for the same. And much love to all.
Yeah. Lakshmi, for presenting your thoughts and your ideas to develop something, and I think there is potential there to get deeply into the Laban notation. I know that people have shied away from doing it because it is so complex. What is notated is the hand's form itself, and then the movement of the hand, now. That is where the problem arises, and I think there is good potential to start working on this from a dancer who knows exactly where the movement should be. So you have a lot of work, research work ahead of you, and we welcome you to get involved with Laban notation and Laban movement analysis so that one can take it forward.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm exiting the meeting.
Yeah, so we break for lunch now, and